To head coach Scott Satterfield's early signing day press conference. Coach will start us off with a quick opening statement. Please raise your hands for questions.
Yeah, I think first of all, I'm glad today's finally here. Recruiting has been a long journey this past season. When you think about all these high school players that we started off, over thousands back when we first got here trying to recruit this class, and to get narrowed down to this group right here, 21 high school recruits that going to come a part of our family now. We're extremely excited about that. We have several players, 5 players from the state of Ohio. I think obviously we want to start right here in the city of Cincinnati and work within that 3 to 4 hour radius all the way up through our state. We're really proud of this state, of how good the high school football is and how great the high school coaches do. They do an absolute great job, some of the best in the country in recruiting or in coaching their players in high school and developing them. When they get to college, they're ready to go. They've been coached hard, and you like what you're going to get when they come to your program. I'm excited also because there's been a lot of hard work that's been put in, starting with our recruiting department, Zach Grant, and those guys that are in there. Man, they do a fabulous job. They tirelessly been working all year, not only identifying talent, but also in the communication. Cass has done great, Carter, Jack, all those people. Caroline, putting together all the visits that are on the campus. So many great things that they did, and our coaches, have worked their butt off to try to put this class together too. The thing we wanted to set out in this class to find, number one, obviously good players, but really more importantly for me is great men. Character was one of the high priorities when you're thinking about this class and what we're bringing in here. These are some outstanding young people with great families. We got to know them over the period of basically a year, and we're so excited about getting them here. And 10 of them are coming early. So we'll have 10 guys in January that will be early enrollees, which is almost half your class, which is really, really great. We're excited about getting those guys here and start working early. We also at this point in time, we've announced some these transfers that will be here as well. I think right now we're sitting at 8. The guy that'll be here early is also, and that we're not done with that either. When it opens back up in January 3rd, I believe we'll be able to host some more to try to get some more in here before the semester starts in January. So we'll continue to work on that throughout Christmas to get more guys in here. But I think again, just excited about this group and excited to get them here.
Chad.
A lot of guys that come from winning programs, quite a few state champions on this list. Where on the priority list is kids that play for winning programs, play for programs that historically are well coached, I guess it comes down to.
I think certainly that's an added bonus. You never know when you're recruiting them how good their team may or may not be. But it is awesome to see. Like Dakar is Perry has our first state championship at their high school. That's awesome. And he's such a great leader for their team and playmaker. That we didn't know that coming into it, but we know he's a great person, and to be able to see that happen was awesome. Several others that won state championships and that played for it. A lot of these guys were captains of their team. Those are the kind of players we're looking to find. Leadership, character, all those type things. You want to surround everybody in that locker room with those type people.
Rustin, Keegan.
Samaj Jones headlines the quarterback position for this class, the lone quarterback you guys are bringing in. What made him that guy that you guys targeted early on, and obviously he's been committed since the summer now?
Yeah. Samaj was a guy we recruited heavily when we were at Louisville, and should continue that relationship once we got to Cincinnati, and then he was able to come down, him and his mom, several times. He came to 2 or 3 games in the fall. I think early on we saw him in camp about 2 years ago and loved the way he threw the football, but also he could run. At that time, I think he was a 4'6" guy. He was probably close to 195 at that point in time, so he had good size. He could run, he could throw. He hit the ball. Really, what sold us in camp was the ball jumped off his hand, and I think it just really tracking him. And Coach Thomas went and watched him play in the playoffs over the last couple of weeks. They ended up winning a state championship, and I think in the state championship game, he's 14 for 17, a couple of touchdowns, and then rushed for 125, a few more touchdowns. So he's that kind of dual threat that we like. He's a solid build guy. He's not extremely tall, but he's put together, so we love the versatility, the playmaking ability. He's very knowledgeable in football, and we're so glad to get him. And then, quite honestly, to be able to get him early, we've anticipated didn't think we were going to be able to make that happen, but he did things he had to do on his part to be able to come in here early. That's huge. You think about the guys we got coming in that quarterback room. That's going to be a great competition this spring in the quarterback room. Essentially you have all your guys here that'll be competing in the spring, and then we'll see how that comes out. But that's going to be a great competition and a bunch of great quarterbacks.
You mentioned Dakari Anderson and Cale Woodburn comes in with him.
Yep.
What is it about that archetype of wide receiver that you love so much? Obviously, Tutu Atwell had success with you and Braden Smith here since.
Yeah, I think for us in our offense, you want those guys that are quick but also have some speed. Dakari's very solid. He put together. Built like a Braden Smith. I think Cale's a little not as big, but it has some juice. He can go, and so. I think for that position there, we do so much, as far as motions, the jet sweeps, the fly motions, but also we want those guys to be able to knock the top off down the middle of the field. And so to be able to have those two guys that come in here and really gives us some more options. We like what we have coming back, with some of the guys on our team now, but with AT and Barry Jackson and these guys that are coming back that play similar positions, it just gives you a lot of guys where you can kind of really do a lot more with that position with those type athletes.
It seems like you had a lot of different guys with speed and athleticism. Was that kind of focus this offseason to add more athleticism and speed to the skill positions?
Yeah, we certainly want to get some more speed. I think speed's the name of the game, really at any position that you have. The other thing that I think, that we looked to address is also a little bit, with some length. You think about, Gavin Grover and Zahersky at tight end. Those Big 12 looking like tight ends to be able to bring in here that have some great size, also with good hands and soft hands. You think about some of the guys, the DBs, with Zay Johnson, who's 6'3", you get some more length right there. Willie Goodwin, 6'1". So, those corners that have a little bit more length, like some of the guys we've had here in the past, that we you love to be able to have that, but also that athleticism and speed. You have to be able to have that speed. You're really excited. Marquez Parker is a guy who we think is, got great size and quick twitch. I think he came to camp for us last year and really put on a show, and got coached hard by Coach Stu, and then. But at that size, being able to move like he does, we're excited about getting him as well. But so there's a lot of things in this class that you're excited about, and with the speed, the size, and really addressing a lot of the needs that we had on this team that we need to continue to build out.
Obviously, a big emphasis on the defensive backs and some longer-looking guys there. How does it help you when you can say, Sauce Gardner played here, Kobe Bryant played here, and here's a guy that coached X amount of NFL dudes.
Yeah, no, it's, great points. We certainly use those guys that guys have played here, that had great careers here, that have gone on to be some of the top DBs in the National Football League. And and then Coach Combs has been a guy who's coached first rounders. He's coached in the NFL. He's seen what it takes to get those guys to that next level. Did a great job recruiting these guys, and these guys, they have a lot of promise. Obviously we wouldn't have signed them if they didn't. Now it's up to us, them and us, when we get here to continue to develop them. They do have the traits that we feel like it takes to be a very successful defensive back. But now at this point, listen, how much stronger can you get and faster can you get with the size that you have to be able to come in here and have a huge impact in the defensive back room.
Dan Jones really flashed there at the end of his high school recruiting. Well, you talk about the defensive backs, just talk about what he brings to the table. Obviously the skill and the length is there. Just talk about what he brings to the table a little bit more.
Talking about Daniel James?
Daniel James.
Yeah, number one, awesome family, awesome kid. He's just really what you're looking for character-wise. Comes from a really good high school program there. It's like a small college. These guys are, competing at a high level just within their school, as well as the teams they're playing. But very athletic. He's a guy who ran track and runs track, and he does a great job of that. One of the better track runners there is in the state of Georgia. And you take that athleticism and with his size and the way he can move and flip his hips, we feel like, man, it's a really good player that has versatility. He's a guy that can play corner, he can play safety, and play nickel. There's a lot of things he can do, and with that versatility, with that size and speed. So he'll be one that, you you can't wait for him to get here so you can start, looking at him and figuring out where exactly you want to use him.
Brendan Sorsby, you made a target pretty quick. Once he entered the portal, he was here that first week. How important was it to get him into the fold as quickly as you did, and then what do you foresee his impact on the program right away?
Yeah, we thought it was, imperative to get that done quickly. You think about all the stuff that's been going on the last 2 weeks with quarterbacks. It's kind of been crazy to see, particularly some of the guys that jumped in the portal as starters, and then, other players that have played a lot of football. And, what we loved about him was the fact that he was young. He hasn't played a lot of football, but he did play the last half of the season, started and did some really, really good things. We like the fact that he's a big player. He's 6'3", 230, brings great size. So in the pocket, guys that are trying to push the pocket or even maybe getting a hand on it, he's not easily swayed in the pocket. He's going to be able to stand strong in that pocket and still make those throws that you have to make down the field. And sometimes you're getting hit, and he showed that on film. He also, at that size, he also showed the ability to get out of trouble and also to run the football. And he's not a runner, that's like a Cunningham that we had at Louisville that can really fly, but he's a powerful runner that is able to get first downs and touchdowns, and he showed that as well. And then the fact that he does have years, I think, was huge for us because of what you put the time and effort you put into somebody in the spring and summer and the fall. You'd like to be able to get that back a little bit more too. And so I think for all that, and then I think for him it's just about coming in here competing with the other guys that we have with Belikti and Drogosh and Samaj. I mean, all these guys are going to be competing this spring. I think, man, it's going to be a fun room to watch.
Obviously, with the tough season in the class, there's some reassurance that has to happen week in and week out. What was your message to the guys, just instilling confidence in them that you guys are doing something here that they can be a part of?
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, number one, we get in here last year, get hired about this time, and it's hard to put together a class because you just got here, you're trying to build your staff out. You don't have a recruiting department. I mean, all those things, and so this is our first true class. When you think about having a full year to put this class together, and to get the kind of players that we feel are going to come here and help us compete for championships, and so that's the thing that you're selling. That we're putting together a great class. We got some really good transfers that come in to help. We're keeping the core unit of our team. On this past team that did some great things, some great leaders, and so you put all that together, then it gives you a great opportunity and a great chance. And I do think that there were some games, we all know this last year, where it could have went either way, probably about 4 or 5 games, and we didn't get it done. And I think part of that, which we've talked a lot about, is discipline and the character piece and all those type things. And I think we're addressed that with these guys, and that's what we sold to these guys. Is that, hey, you're the kind of guys that come in here to join with our guys here that have great character, that want to work hard, that want to do all those things right to help get us to where we're very competitive. We're winning Big 12 games, and so they wanted to be a part of that. And and again, we're so excited that they wanted to be a part of that and to be able to join our program.
Several staffers that were at Ohio State, so obviously they had knowledge of Pryor and Stokes. Safe to assume those are guys you're going to be looking to play right away.
Yeah, I think Pryor's a guy who had an injury 2 years ago. Really came back this year and was healthy. But I think it's the second year after an injury like that is when you really can excel. You're back to your old self. If you go back and watch Evans' high school stuff, it's tremendous. He's one of the best backs in the country coming out. So I think he'll be a great addition, to go along with Corey. Corey's that bruiser. He's going to get you tough yards and really, grind out those, those first downs. And I think he's another guy. Evans is a guy who can catch the ball in the backfield really, really well, but also gives you a little bit more shiftiness. And so, to me, they're a great 1-2 punch. And so he'll certainly be a guy that will, anticipate getting right in the mix. Kai Stokes is a guy who's an exceptional athlete. I think Coach Nico was there, speaks very, very highly of him. And when he came in on his visit, I don't know, I was trying to tell my wife of how pleasant he was to be around. An outstanding young man. And, that's what you want to have in your locker room. Guy, he's 6'1", 200 pounds that can run and jump, but also a great person. And so, we're excited about him. Certainly we need help in the secondary. And one of the reasons why he wanted to come be a part of this is because he's got opportunity. Opportunity to come and have great significance right from the start.
The long snapper is the only transfer brought in with 1 year of eligibility. Is that something that's important to you? If we're going to go into the portal, we want to do our best to make sure we're going to have these guys for a little while.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we wanted. As we targeted all these guys, again, what I mentioned earlier, what you're putting into them in the summer and spring and in the fall, we're going to get back at least another year for most of these guys. And I think that's a great way to see how you can continue to grow your program. What it does, it also gives you, so for next year when we go sign another high school class, you're able to continue to sign high school players and develop them from freshman year on, and you don't have to go get 20, 25 transfers every year. And I think to be able to have these guys back for multiple years helps ensure that.
Defensively, at times you guys struggle to get to the quarterback. Can you just describe what Micah Coleman and George Gums bring off the edge?
Yeah. I mean, Gums is a guy who's, to me, his best football is certainly ahead of him. He was a guy who just started D-line last year, but has great twitch and speed and length coming off the edge. I think, he's got a huge upside. He has a motor too. Now he doesn't stop. He's one of these guys that's going to chase the ball every day of practice, and obviously in the games that's going to be awesome to be able to have. And I really like the length on that. We needed to have some more of that. We needed to have some more of the length with the speed. And I think we addressed that in both these players. I mean, Coleman's 6'5". I think maybe 255 when he weighed in on his visit. Again, size, speed, coming off the edge. One of the things that we wanted to have. And got players like this is going to help guys like Corleone, and help free those guys up a little bit more so we can get more pressure on the quarterback.
Offensive line in the portal is maybe as difficult or more difficult than even quarterback that you've talked about. Is that why it's so important to go and find an Aiden Pastoriza, a Zach Clark, guys with that requisite size? Maybe you need to put a little bit more weight on them, but you have to develop tackle instead of trying to buy it.
You do, because in the portal, number one, there's not as many linemen that go in, and if they do go in, particularly if they have some years, then they're sought after. And I think to being able to homegrown your offensive line, because it is a developmental position. Everybody knows that. You got guys. We're taking guys with some great length right there. Bring them in. Let Coach Nico and his staff go to work. Put the great weight, great size that they need to have in order to compete at a high level. But those guys have huge potential. When you think about 6'7", 6'6", I mean, these are good guys with good length that to be able to tackle. Tackle is probably one of the hardest positions to recruit in football, and to get quality young men. And these guys, I think they have tenacity. They get after it. They can move. But you mentioned it. We'll put the weight on them. I mean, they got a great frames to be able to put the weight on there, and we're hoping they'll develop into should be our starting tackles for years to come.
When you look at the expansion of the playoff from 4 teams to 12 teams going to this season, have you noticed that, as your staff noticed that at all, helping kind of mid-power conference schools like UC trying to build their way up? Is that helping you guys at all? Are you noticing that, or is it still kind of too early to tell?
Well, I mean, I think it's still a little too early to tell because we haven't done it yet, But I think we all know in the back of our minds, all right, there's going to be more opportunity and more chances to get into that final 12 to be able to play for it all, and which I think is a great thing. I think it's for a lot more schools now, it's not just the 4 schools or at the end, 4 or 5 guys fighting for those 4 spots, and now. There's teams that are going to be able. You can stump your toe once, maybe even twice, and still be in that final group and of 12. And so, but I love the opportunity that it gives all the programs in a program like ours to be able. If you have a special year, then you're going to have a great opportunity to go in that final 12, and that's going to be exciting to see.
Star position's been a big deal for you guys. Can you tell me about Sanks stepping in there and where he fits?
Yeah, Sanks is number one a great leader. He's a great leader in his high school and went to an outstanding high school, very competitive school there. And he is one of the guys in the backfield that can make all the calls. He can direct people very smart football player, has good size, not as much length maybe as some of these other DBs that we have, but he brings a very physical presence, and he'll stick his head in there and make some great tackles. But I love his leadership, and I love his the way he handles himself on a daily basis. And I think certainly he'll be that guy that can stop the run, but also defend the pass at that star position.
When you look at this freshman bunch, most times it's considered like the freshmen are going to redshirt.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a plan with this group, even if it's special teams, that maybe some fast tracking to get them ready quicker than normal?
I think we'll be surprised, because I always am. When you bring in a class like this, there's certain guys in this class I think maybe this guy needs to develop a little bit, but then when he gets here, you're like, oh no, he's going to play. So that's one of the fun things I think is for coaches, is to be able to bring these guys in. Particularly now we'll have 10 of them that'll be here in spring, so we get to see that. And then in the summertime we'll get to see the rest of those guys. But I feel like that the days of, hey man, you're all going to redshirt, we're done with that. I feel like there's going to be a bunch of these guys that will be playing for us next year. Who they are, it's hard to say as we sit here today, but there will be some guys out of this bunch right here that will play, that will certainly be on special teams, that will also be in their positions that we recruited them to play, and get some great valuable time. So a lot of it depends on how quickly they learn our stuff and get here, and go through that. That's why I think the 10 guys will have an upper edge on that, because they'll get to go through spring and make some mistakes and then grow from that, as opposed to the guys just having a summer.
Talk about the linebacker room, obviously Monte Whedon, Simeon Coleman. Just talk about what those two bring to the table. Obviously great size, hard-hitting linebackers. Just
Yeah, I think the physical, they bring it. Simeon, there's some hits on there. He's taking heads off, man. Some of it looks illegal. He's hitting them so hard. I saw helmets flying and stuff. But I'm gonna tell you about him. He's you would never know that if you walked in the room. He's got one of the greatest smiles you'll see. He's like a teddy bear, just hanging out. But then something switches when he puts the pads on and goes on the field and just starts hitting people. And so love how physical he is. But both of these linebackers, can move. They're physical. And they're at this day and age, you got to be able to have backers that you obviously you want to be able to fill the A gaps, but you got to have backers that can also run. And especially in this conference, we think about the quarterbacks that can run in this league. These running backs, the running games are really good, and then obviously the throw games. So you got to have versatile linebackers that can run side to side, as well as have a good physical presence to be able to plug A gaps. And we feel like both of these guys are able to do that.
You said the team leaders that were returning were going to have a big role in who comes in and who stays. What have you seen them react to this whole process, and how kind of motivated do they seem in going into next season?
Yeah, they're excited about adding guys to this. As you think about the transfers that are coming in, we had several of our guys. Some of the guys we had at the press conference the last time we were in here were either ate dinner, hung out, they were with them, and they sign off. We're not taking any of these guys unless they say yes, they're one of us. And so it just tells you how much they're involved in this football team and how much they care. It's not like one of these deals, hey, we're coming back to play another year. Well, no, we're coming back to play another year, but we're going to add to this and help us be very competitive when we go out on the football field with the kind of guys that are like us. And so, I think they're excited, they're pumped. They're ready to get back and go to work. Our guys, Corleone and Connor was just in my office just then and just finished working out. Here, we're basically in a break right now, and they're just over here working out. So they're eager and they're hungry to get back here in January to start going back to work.
Chad, final question.
The recruiting calendar has changed so much. Most of high school recruiting, it feels like your commits are done by June and July. In the old days, 4 years ago, which was an eternity, high school tape was really important, because a lot of decisions weren't made, at least until halfway through the high school season. How important is still watching that high school tape and making sure that your evaluation is on track, as opposed to just getting them in the fold and not worrying about it?
That's a great point. Because the way it is now, everything is sped up so much in recruiting. You're basically recruiting off sophomore and junior film. Now, guys that peak as a sophomore, that's not what you want. You want these guys to continue to get better and better each and every year and to continue to develop. You don't want guys that are tapped out by the time they get to college. So we did. We watched all these guys' senior tape, as we went through, and most of them were committed early. But we still go back and we watch their tape, and we'll even talk. We talk to them all the time, so we'll critique and tell them, hey, listen, you need to do this better. You need to look at working on this right here or whatever. And so you're coaching them already, really, and then you're not even here yet. But I do think high school senior film is very, very valuable film because you can tell exactly where they are and where they're trending. But we don't have the luxury to wait for that anymore. I mean, because if you think about it, if we waited until senior film and we started trying to get some guys, they're all going to be committed, and it's going to be hard to get them. And so you have to go early. You have to do a great job, and I think that's where our recruiting department was starting with Zach and the rest of his guys. You have to have outstanding people to be able to do that because they have to identify and see and learn and grow all the things that it takes to be a really good college player at an early level. We think about sophomore, junior film. And so our guys have done a great job, and I really appreciate all their hard work to be able to put this great class together, and can't wait to get started.
Thank you,
All right,
Coach.
thanks, guys.